Welcome everybody to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong Chua. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, I have another amazing guest. I was very fortunate to have a sit-down with this individual at a conference. And when I got to speak with him, he was absolutely amazing. He's done so many different things, been so involved, and it's just somebody I really want to get to know and have him on my show. And I'm very excited today. He's been involved with food trucks, hemp farming, to PPE deals with Fortune 500 companies. He's in real estate, remodeling, developing new homes, and he's just recently finished another home that looks amazing. He's also the lead instructor, driving instructor for Extreme Experiences. Absolutely amazing person, and I'm just very excited to have him here. So please welcome investor, entrepreneur, racer, CEO of Constant Innovations, Petar Konstantinovic.
How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for having me, Fong. Excited to be here with you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. And I'm looking forward to this chat because you've done so many different things. You've also been involved with so much charity work too. So we'll get into that. But first of all, share with us your journey into becoming the amazing you right now.
Well, that's a loaded question. So, it started off actually, I would say when I was in high school. I always knew I wanted to do something different. My parents are both in the medical field. And while I've really respected that industry and, had dreams and desires of becoming a doctor, I shadowed some doctors as a kid. And I knew just at the bottom of my heart that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life sitting in an operating room. And my mom actually got me onto Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She had me listen to this audiobook, and I sat there one summer just listening through it, taking notes. And I realized that, what I'm actually looking for in life is financial freedom, really doing things that make me happy and building a life that, is on my time and where I could do what I like to do when I want. So, I grew up in a Serbian household. I'm first generation in America. And, in high school, I always said I wanted to start my own business selling our ethnic dish called palacinke, which is like a crepe, basically. And, I started out going to college, started off with, studying business management. But I got a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Jaded, maybe, because it just seemed like what they were teaching us in business school wasn't really what you needed to know to actually run a business. It was more about how to go get a job for some other company. And, it just kind of, lost that passion, that idea that I wanted to do that, and decided to start studying philosophy in school. And honestly, getting into philosophy was probably one of the best things that I did, because it actually taught me one of the best classes I took was critical thinking, and taught me how to not only look at problems, but how to solve them, how to think through them, how to process through them, and how to become a problem solver. And at that point, I realized, well, I'm not going to be able to do much with just a philosophy degree in life, and I know I still want to do business. So let's try and solve some problems in the world. And one of the first problems I wanted to solve was healthy eating. I wanted to create a healthy fast food business, because at the end of the day, there aren't good, healthy fast food options. And with the lifestyle that we live in America, we're always on the go. We're always on the move. And I felt that it was something that I really wanted to pursue. And I felt that I could start a really strong business. And learning about lean startup methodology in my entrepreneurial classes, which I started taking after getting into philosophy, taught me how to start a business and really bootstrap it. Well, we started the business, my cousin and I was looking for more mentorship, looking for more help, guidance, basically, to get into this, becoming an entrepreneur. And my mom actually signed up for a conference in 2011, I believe it was, called the 2011 Blueprint with JT Fox. So she took me to this conference. I didn't know what it was about. And that's where I met JT and really got inspired by his story and all of his success in real estate and how he became an entrepreneur and this great speaker traveling all around the country. And basically, that's what really sparked my pursuit down entrepreneurship and getting this business going. So we decided to get coaching with JT. I was working with a number of his coaches, not only in entrepreneurship, but also in real estate. And that's basically the start of the journey. Eventually, I decided, as I was in college, there was a defining moment in my business called the Crepe Shack, where I had to decide between continuing my business and going to an event, or deciding to pull the plug so I can pursue college. And At that point, my business partners, they kind of decided to just walk away from the business, even though we had all this growth potential. They just got tired of doing the business and dealing with the hard problems and the challenges that we were dealing with. And I actually talked to my coach, JT, about it. And he suggested that, there's a lot more out there in the world than just starting a food truck, and that there's more opportunity that I could be pursuing. So it was a tough decision, and my parents, they were very generous. They were helping me out through college. I decided that I was going to pull the plug on my business. I learned a lot from the experience and decided to start pursuing other entrepreneurial ventures. And one of the things that I've learned through, Robert Kiyosaki, through Rich Dad Poor Dad, and through JT Fox, was trying to build residual income, how to make your money work for you, right? Mm-hmm. So I got involved with a payment processing company. I met the CEO of this organization, and the president and his business partner was also the son of the owners of the Chicago Bulls and the White Sox. So getting that opportunity actually opened up so many doors for me. And I learned a lot about sales through the process, how to sell a product that, essentially many people already use. It's a saturated market, and how to really penetrate into these organizations and show them the value that we can produce. So eventually I actually had JT, my coach, come out to the Chicago Bulls, the United Center with me. And we actually hosted a couple of his partners there, where we gave them a tour of the United Center, and we took photos at the center court of the United Center, right in the Bulls stadium. And that moment for me was, again, another defining moment where I realized, wow, I have an incredible network of resources of people, and I was able to connect a lot of people together to develop these businesses. So essentially from there, I kept pursuing entrepreneurship. I started a nonprofit with a friend of mine. This was during the recession of 08, 09. And essentially what we found in Chicago were that there were a lot of businesses who required consulting during this difficult time, but they didn't have the budget to spend tens of thousands of dollars on major consulting firms. At the same time in college, I noticed a lot of my friends were sending 50 to 100 job applications a day, couldn't get anything to stick. And they needed something to put on their resume to show that they were actually had work experience, especially coming out of college. So we put together a program where we were helping students who were struggling to find jobs, connecting them with businesses who desperately needed consulting. We offered free consulting through an internship program that was about 8 to 10 weeks. And we had about 40, 50 volunteer consultants, essentially interns, that were helping businesses around Chicago to get through the recession, what they could do, how they could problem solve, how they could create different products or services that would help them stay afloat, help them generate revenue through a difficult time. And it worked out great. Almost every student that we went through our program actually ended up getting jobs right after that because of the qualification they had through that experience. So it was a really excellent program. We started to develop it further. But again, everybody that was involved started to pursue other avenues. They got actual consulting roles. So we basically shut that down after a certain point. From there, I ended up helping start another company that was a supercar driving experience. My friends asked me to get involved because they did need a payment processing solution. So I attended an event with them and basically treated it as my own business. That was a really fun experience for me because I got to travel around the country, helping grow this business. I helped them grow from doing 8 to 10,000 in sales during a weekend to $60 to $70,000 in sales over the course of a weekend, which was nice. But unfortunately, again, it wasn't my business. I was brought in not necessarily as an entrepreneur, but as an intrapreneur. And unfortunately, that business, the owners ended up getting into a dispute. And one day they just decided to shut down the company again. Wow. So unfortunately, I started getting a little bit discouraged by this startup world. I was getting a lot of over promises and under delivery in that space. So after that, decided to pursue a little bit more knowledge within the real estate world. I ended up actually working with a community bank in Chicago, where I started actually my corporate desk job, which was out of my norm, doing multifamily lending. So I was basically working with owner operators in Chicago who had their own apartment buildings, 5 to 15 units. And we were helping them get loans so that they could keep their, keep growing their real estate business, keep growing their real estate portfolios. And it was actually through that job where I learned so much about investing in real estate, specifically apartment building types of properties. And it was incredible because I got to see these portfolios of these incredibly successful investors in Chicago. I got to see how they actually analyzed their numbers, what was a good deal and what wasn't. But I still didn't quite take the plunge into real estate myself. Eventually, I did also get involved in the professional motorsport world, managing a race team in the Pirelli World Challenge Series, where we've raced around the country. We've raced at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as well. And that was a very fun experience because I got actually a famous celebrity race car driver to race with our team. His name was Randy Popst. So that actually opened up a lot of doors further in the motorsport world, where I was then offered an opportunity to work with a team that raced in a higher class called GT4 America. So I started working with them, and then the pandemic hit. Once the pandemic hit, the team unfortunately decided to shut down. Prior to that, though, I'll backtrack a little bit. I was helped acquire a sponsorship with a technology company, and this was a massive actual opportunity for us. Sponsorships in motorsports can range from $10,000 to several $100,000. And we actually opened up this opportunity for this tech company where they were able to acquire business with very big companies like Amazon Web Services and CrowdStrike. However, again, the pandemic hit right as we were setting up this massive marketing campaign for those organizations. And unfortunately, that team shut down. So after that, I was questioning, what do I do during the pandemic? And some of my friends were also involved in wholesaling different products, importing them from China, for example. We started looking into the PPE world, so selling medical equipment, safety equipment that the hospitals were desperately needing. So essentially, we were able to structure a very lucrative opportunity with the Fortune 500, where they bought several million masks from us. And that led to further opportunities, in the PPE space. At the same time, a year before that, I was also involved in the hemp industry. We started a CBD company, my friend and we were basically wholesaling CBD and structuring deals with farmers and CBD labs, where the labs are doing extraction of CBD oil. So basically, that opportunity of connecting farmers with laboratories that were doing extractions led to us starting our own hemp farm, where we grew 200 acres of hemp on an organic farm in Colorado. So that worked well, but unfortunately, at the same time, the hemp world was full of a lot of risk and a lot of farmers that didn't quite know how to farm hemp. I think half of all the hemp farms in America actually ended up failing within the first few years that the hemp boom really started. And while we had everything in place to have a very lucrative opportunity, unfortunately, we had some farmers that mismanaged the property for us, the project. And I had to come in actually at one point. This was in 2019, right before the pandemic hit. And I spent 6 weeks on the farm trying to actually save the farm itself. We were dealing with equipment failures, a late harvest. We got 2 snows that fell on the crop, which actually lowered the quality of the product. We were harvesting by hand because the equipment that we were using, our tractors and combines, were not working. The farmers did not. They bought a bunch of used equipment and they didn't really maintain the equipment or get it working in proper condition when we actually needed it, which was a big pain point in this project. So we're cutting things by hand. Overnight, one night, a huge windstorm came in and blew a portion of that crop completely away. It was totally gone. So it was probably one of the most stressful projects that I've ever done. However, with this do whatever it takes attitude that we had, we were able to save the farm, and actually were able to get enough product over to our lab that was our partner, where essentially we were able to break even, made a little bit of money on top. But it was unfortunately one of those projects that we had to deal with some failure, and we dealt with it in a way though where we didn't lose anything. So we were satisfied that we were able to get through it, but we were ready to go with another farm for the next season, and that's when the pandemic hit. So we pivoted from there, got into PPE, and also got into wholesaling hemp from larger indoor greenhouse operations in the Midwest. So instead of growing it ourselves, we were basically selling that hemp to different retail outlets, different companies that produce their own CBD products. And that went quite well. End of 2020, the hemp market was slowing down a lot, or we noticed that our wholesale market was, not necessarily dwindling, but the activity was much lower than it was during the middle of the year. And the owner of the race team, the GT4 team that I worked with, he invited me to move to Florida as they were planning to start a new restaurant in town and kind of revitalize the racing team that they had developed previously. Instead of just being a racing team, they decided to build a high performance exotic car service facility and a tuning shop for exotic cars. So I felt right at home. I decided to take the plunge and move down to Sarasota, Florida to help those businesses start. Unfortunately, again, those businesses had their own challenges. They weren't quite able to get up to get their businesses open within the reasonable time that I was expecting them to be open as I moved. And I quickly realized I need to start building my own business once again. And that's when I connected again with my friend and my coach, Paulie Kazanovsky. And I had some friends down here who were pretty successful at wholesaling real estate, getting it under contract, selling it for a higher price to an investor, basically flipping the contract to other investors. And reached out to Paulie, told him there's a lot of great deals down here. I'd like to help you find some deals. I'd like to get into wholesaling and then maybe get into investing myself. And then Paulie actually turned it around and asked me, well, why don't I do the deals, manage the projects for him and his investors, and we'll create a better profit sharing agreement instead of me just wholesaling it and leaving it for them to do the project. Paulie, he's a renowned real estate investor, does remodels around the country. He's done over 600 flips himself. And my assumption was that he would have crews that would be able to handle it. But, this is an area that he hasn't done a lot of real estate in. And he told me he wants me to do it. And basically we would partner on these deals. So that was my segue into real estate investing over the last year. It took me a few months to find my first deal. We had a couple of properties that we put in offers on. They were really nice, cosmetic, easy rehabs. And unfortunately, just the prices that we were offering, they weren't getting accepted. So I was getting a little bit discouraged again, really was hoping I'd find a deal. And then one day I just got a call from a friend telling me that, hey, there's a property. I have a friend that's wholesaling. You should go check it out. We went in to go check it out. It was a complete mess, to say the least. The whole house was in shambles. There was a hole in the roof, a hole in the ceiling. The owner that was living there just fell apart. She wasn't taking care of the property. I believe her husband passed away a few years ago, and she was just emotionally drained. Just kind of seemed like she gave up on taking care of it. So we put in an offer. We did a little bit of negotiating back and forth, and we were able to get it at the right price. So that was my first deal. And that first deal is the one that we just finished. Just went up on the market on Friday. The original timeline to get that project done was about 4 months. It took about 10 months to get this one done because of all the challenges that we had. In the meantime, though, I was continuing looking for more deals. I ended up getting another property under contract, and that one actually was more cosmetic. That one got done in March, and we successfully closed that deal actually at $35K over our asking price. So it was a great property. And I honestly couldn't have done it all without the coaches that I had, without the advice that I was getting from Paulie, and without JT actually being there to help me guide me through these properties. So basically over the last year, I've started my real estate business. I've successfully completed one flip. The other flip is now on the market right now. We've got multiple offers all over asking price, despite the increasing interest rates. I've got a third property that is currently being rehabbed. We're waiting on the issuance of a permit, and that one should be done by September. And I've also got a new construction going as well. I was able to partner with some of Paulie and JT's other students as well on this project, and we were able to put together the funds to purchase the land, acquire a loan for the construction, and basically build a new construction, which we're anticipating to be done by June of next year. So it's been an incredible ride, to say the least. And I've been fortunate in life to be able to pursue my greatest passions of racing and motorsports, all while being able to build my own real estate business And I hope to see a lot more continued future growth and success with that business here. So it was a long spiel there, but it was it was a little bit of a loaded question. So
Oh yeah, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, like you've done so many different things at a very, very young age too.
yeah.
There's a lot of those things that you talked about was during your college years and even before your college years, where most people at that age would be like, oh, let's go party, let's do this, let's travel, let's have fun. And you're going out making money, creating businesses, doing partnerships and all that kind of stuff. So that is good on you. And how was that time period of your life? Like when everybody else was doing one thing, was it difficult for you to focus on, hey, no, I want to do this because this is meaningful, this is more motivating?
Absolutely. I mean, it was a huge challenge, even for my family. You know, I got a lot of flack from them for trying to pursue entrepreneurship. You know, people were challenging my ideas, my business, telling me that they would never succeed. So that was tough. And you know, I got a lot of criticism from family because at the end of the day, being a young entrepreneur, you know, I decided to take a lot of risks, and unfortunately, there were a lot of failures that we had to you know go through. The way I tell my parents is that this was my own little residency program instead of becoming a doctor. So while it was a challenge, I've lost a lot of money trying things that, you know, trying to go for these grand slams. I wouldn't change a thing because the lessons that I've learned have shaped me into the man I am today and the entrepreneur I am today.
Have you ever taken a step back and go, what if I did pursue medical?
Oh yeah, all the time. I still to this day think, you know, maybe I should just, you know, go to med school still just to get that license and see what happens, you know. But you know, I love helping people. That's a big motivation for me to be going to medicine. And I've realized though that you can help so many people as well, not necessarily as a doctor, you know. And that's what I want to do. One of my business associates and dear friend, older gentleman who is about 89 years old right now, not retired, still does great business all around the world. He told me that the most important thing is to do good and make some money along the way.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to do good and you know, make some money doing what I love. And I know that if I pursue the things that I'm passionate about and focus on making the world a better place, I know that good, successful things will come to me. So, and that's what I've been seeing now over the last few years of the fruits of my labor. So
Hey, who knows? You might end up owning a practice or something where you hire the doctors to come and work
yeah,
for you.
yeah,
Right?
it's not a bad idea. There's a lot of medical groups now that are being bought out by Wall Street and major publicly traded companies, and it's not a bad idea. I might have to pursue that a little later in life.
And then you could go back to your parents and see, I did what you wanted. In
Yeah,
fact, I'm
exactly,
higher.
exactly. Then they'll finally be happy.
Finally. Well,
Yeah,
it,
right.
it sounds like your mom was very, very supportive in all the stuff that you've gone through. Even though if it's not what the original plan was for you, but she was very supportive in all the other ventures you were at. How about everybody else? You mentioned how everybody told you, oh, it's not going to work, it's too risky and all that kind of stuff. How did you navigate through that cloud of people that tries to pull you back?
You know, it's hard. I mean, I would say it was more of like you know, ups and downs. There were some times where people would tell me and I was at a low point in a business and I would think, wow, they're probably right. You know, I'm putting so much effort into this and not seeing the results that I'm hoping for. Maybe I should try something else. And there's other times where, you know, where it would actually drive me further. It would actually, you know, ignite a bigger fire in my belly to keep pursuing you know, what I was doing more and more. So it was you know, I don't want to, you know, say, you know, embellish and say that, you know, oh, I was able to pursue through everything without any doubt in my mind.
Mhm.
But as an entrepreneur, you know, and as a human being, we always doubt ourselves. In fact, I actually dealt a lot with imposter syndrome. I actually thought like, am I actually, you know, good enough to be doing what I'm doing? And there were those times of doubts, but if it wasn't for my mentors and my coaches, I wouldn't have been able to persevere through those issues because, you know, we all get in our own heads sometimes. And it's easy to give up on your dreams because that little voice in the back of your head is telling you to quit. But what I've learned is the most important thing is to relentlessly pursue what you love the most, no matter what. And when you do it, when you just fight tooth and nail for what you want in life. You may not get exactly what you're looking for, but you're going to end up in a place where you never thought you'd be. And that's the most important thing I can tell anybody is just don't ever give up on your dreams. Whatever it may be, you can find a way to make your dreams work. Just always fight. That's the biggest advice I can give.
And fight you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you mentioned before, you've been involved with so many different startups, and you've really put all your effort into it, your blood and sweat, and you got them all to a certain level of success or exposure, and getting them back into the black, out of the red. But unbeknownst to you, certain things happen. Owners aren't happy with something, with each other, partnerships don't work, and then those companies don't work anymore. How did you navigate through that? Because it starts becoming, wait a minute, is it me, or is it actually stuff that I can't control? And then you kept on going and pursuing more.
Well, so one of the big mistakes I made, I would say, is I learned of a concept in college called not necessarily entrepreneurship, but intrapreneurship, where a person can build up their own position or their own business within an existing organization. So, I've always had my own dreams. And when my first dream of starting my food truck, a healthy fast food business, when I closed it down, I thought, well, I'm really good at building businesses. So why don't I help other people, help them, realize their dreams? Getting involved in these startups, a lot of these business owners, these entrepreneurs, they were very reluctant to give up equity. And so we created other arrangements where, I would basically be getting paid for the startup work that I was doing. Now, I think that looking back on it, it was a bad decision to not fight for more equity in some of the organizations that I was involved with, because not having that ownership in an organization actually makes you just, kind of, fly with the wind almost. You don't have the decision-making power to change what the owners necessarily want to do. So while it's a noble idea and a good idea to get involved with a startup that resonates with you, my piece of advice there is to fight for equity, fight for some piece of that business, because when you have ownership in something, it changes your mentality completely, and I think it gives you more of that drive to see a business succeed or make it to that other side. So, but in a lot of these cases with these businesses I got involved with, I had no control over the destiny or the fate of that business and the decision-making power. So if you do get involved with startups, if you do get involved at that early level with the company, make sure to fight so you can have some kind of equity or ownership in it. And if that means giving up on some salary to be able to do that, giving up on some kind of income to be able to have ownership, I think it's worth it. But again, it comes with balance. If you're in a position where, the income that you're generating is what you rely on to live, it'll be hard to invest, hours and hours a week to building a business when you've got no income coming in. So it's all about balance. And that's why I think it's so important to have multiple streams of income. Not only am I doing real estate right now, but I'm also as the lead instructor for Extreme Experience. This is another supercar driving experience company. And I'm able to, although I'm not an owner of that company, I'm not, a manager at the corporate level. I'm an independent contractor where I basically travel around and teach people how to drive supercars. And that's what I use to basically pay my bills and stay afloat right now. I am giving up time for money and exchanging my time for money with this program, but I'm doing something that I'm so passionate about. And as an independent contractor, I'm able to pick and choose the days and hours, the weekends that I want to work and travel. So it really fits well within my lifestyle, and it's given me that balance where I'm not worried about paying my bills and I can pursue my entrepreneurial visions. And I think that's one of the most important things that entrepreneurs at an early stage forget, is that you can't just survive on a startup that is not generating income or profits for you to live off of at the moment. So finding that balance is critical as an entrepreneur.
Well, driving supercars isn't exactly a boring job, so
that's for sure. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Most people save up and go on a trip to do something that's exciting like that, whereas you get to do it more often than most. So, well, with the driving stuff, would you say there's an advantage of you in the business world having been an instructor on driving these supercars?
Totally, 100%. I sit in the passenger seat of these supercars with people who have never been on a racetrack, who probably have no business driving a Ferrari at 150 miles an hour. So the big part of it as an instructor is assessing who the customer is when they sit down in the car. So it's helped me build a lot of social awareness and situational awareness, because I have to realize, is this customer getting in the car? Are they just here to enjoy the car, just drive it in a way that, cautious way, but really see what it's capable of? Or is this somebody that's here to drive the car, pedal to the metal, with no regard to safety? And those kinds of situations put you in, they show you how to connect with people at a deeper level, so that they understand that despite me being in the passenger seat, that I'm in control of the car. So it has taught me a lot about business, about dealing with people, making fast decisions, because when you're going, hundreds of miles an hour and a customer makes a mistake, I have to be there in the risk-ready position to grab the steering wheel and potentially save us from a slide. I've had to do that a couple of times, actually. So it has taught me how to make quick decisions, and when I make a decision, to stick with that decision and just go for what I'm doing. Don't hesitate. So it certainly has helped me become a better businessman, and it's also helped me become a better mentor to other people as well, because you can teach somebody a lot about driving, the theory of it outside of the car. But when you don't have that time with the person, they just sit down in the car next to you and you have to show them what to do. You have to really learn how to coach somebody and get through to them in a quick way. So yeah, dealing with people, being situationally aware, that's definitely what being an instructor has taught me, and helped me mold better into my life. So
you probably eye roll when everybody, like all those parents or all those other instructors teaching normal driving ed classes, they're like, oh, I did this. You're like, that's nothing.
Well, it's actually funny, because in driver's ed, they don't teach you what you need to know to actually be a good driver. They're just teaching you enough just to get on the road. That's all they're teaching you, the bare minimum. I remember when I was sitting in driver's ed, nobody taught you how to correct an actual slide, for example, right? And, a lot of people get in situations where they lose control of their car and they don't know what to do. So racing and high performance driving has actually taught me how to be a better driver. It's put me in scenarios where you have to know how to avoid accidents. You have to know how to control a slide. You have to know everything that's going on around you. And I think that more people need to develop that skill set, not only to be better drivers, but also pursuing knowledge even more, because what you learn from just, a YouTube video or from one session, getting mentorship from a mentor or a coach, that's not enough knowledge to actually learn how to do something. You have to go out there and do it yourself. You have to go out there and practice. And the best way to practice is in a controlled environment where you won't risk getting hurt. You won't risk failure. That's how I think you can actually build the skill set, not only is in driving to be a better driver, but anywhere in business, in entrepreneurship, in a career field that you're in.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned before your a previous team that you're working with was able to secure a big name driver to drive for your team.
Yes.
Now, that process, was it something special about the team itself that actually attracted that driver over to you guys, or was it something else? The branding, the marketing, what was it that got that person's interest?
It was a little combination. So this driver, Randy Popst, actually used to race in the Pirelli World Championship. He was actually a national champion in that series, a very regarded driver. It was also a little bit of networking. I met Randy Popst through some of my friends in high school who were also avid racers. So I remember, saying hello to him and shaking his hand and telling him how much I looked up to him as a driver. And I asked him if I could connect with him on Facebook. So he told me, sure. We connected there, and we stayed in touch, online for a few years. Once I got involved with the racing team, we had an opportunity where we were running two cars, and one of the drivers couldn't make it to a race. So we were deciding, do we just run one car? Do we just skip this whole race weekend in general because we're not going to have the full team there? And, we were looking for drivers that may want to come onto the team to race. Now, most of the time, if somebody wants to race in the series, at the level that we were racing at in the touring car series, it's about $30,000 a weekend to race. That includes fuel, tires, mechanics, logistics of getting to the race. so many different costs go into racing that, it is very much a sport that is only for people who have the money to be able to do it at that professional level.
Yeah.
Now, I convinced the team owners at that time, instead of finding a driver to, that's going to pay for a seat, which, is just an average customer, I suggested that we find a professional racer that has a significant brand and following to bring onto the team to help with marketing and exposure for us. And sure enough, I was able to convince the owners of the team to bring Randy into this race with us. And we had a couple of calls with Randy, with the owners. And after a few discussions back and forth, the owners decided, all right, let's do this. Let's bring this guy on. We may lose some money by not, bringing a paying driver into the race, but the exposure that we get from it could lead to more drivers coming onto the team. So I significantly remember we first did testing in Chicago at the Autobahn Raceway in Joliet. We packed up the cars in the truck, headed out to, where was it? This race was at Lime Rock Park. This was in Connecticut. And, Randy was out there, and this person has so much fame in the racing world that before the race, one of my favorite memories was we were walking from our trailer, our paddock area, down to the pits where the cars were staged, getting ready for the race. And I'm walking next to Randy. We were talking about the data, that the cars were giving us, how we could maximize the times that we were getting out of the car, maximize the performance. And I'm walking side by side with Randy. And, this is my first season ever in racing. I've never been in that sport at the professional level. I didn't have much recognition in that area, but we were walking down the pits, and I remember watching every single team, driver, crew, mechanics, photographers. They all were looking at us, turning their heads, and just people were snapping photos of us walking down the pits. And that was one of those moments I was like, wow, I kind of put my foot in the door here. And, we did one race with Randy. It went great. We couldn't do any more races, unfortunately. We had other drivers that were getting into the series with us, but it was one of the defining moments for me in racing, because that just getting him to come on board with us. I was introduced to other team owners, like the team owners for GT4 America. The race team is SRQ Motorsports, and that's what led me basically into working with them, and now how I ended up here in Florida. So,
well, talk about how well you build like strong relationships. It's not like you met the person, you go, hey, you want to drive for us? You actually connect with him for years and years before you actually put the question out there.
Absolutely. And that's something that JT has always taught me. It's not about what you know. It's not about who you know. It's who knows you. Mm-hmm. And the way that you get people to know about you, to recognize you, is by being a good person and creating more value for them than you try to take value from them, if that makes sense.
Oh, exactly.
You could know the CEO of a company, and if you're constantly annoying him with calls, trying to sell some product to him, they may not endorse you. But if you can build a genuine relationship with someone, that's the difference between having somebody who's has a significant amount of influence, actually endorsing you and potentially giving you the chance to do something that you may not have thought you could. So strongly encourage, just networking, and, but not networking for your own interest, networking to figure out how you can help other people. That's the key.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, you now with the real estate stuff, you have a great, strong network of people there that you're involved with. What would you say is your secret or your formula for finding the right properties for you?
Well, that's a tough question, because it is very hard now, especially to find more good deals. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more people coming down to Florida that are doing rehabs. There's a lot more property owners that are trying to get the highest dollar for their property. So at first, my first deals, actually all of my deals I acquired through wholesalers. While I was trying to become a wholesaler myself, I was able to get the opportunity to partner on deals with Paulie, for example, and JT. And I've actually found a good network of wholesalers now down in the Florida area who are basically funneling these off-market deals to me. I've got a great real estate agent that I work with down here as well, who knows the types of properties I'm looking for. And they're always sending me deals and opportunities that might be good investments. So I would say again, just find some real estate groups locally in your area. Go to those, network with people. I've been to events and I've seen people just basically pitching deals that they have under contract, looking for investors. So if you're an investor and you're looking for properties, find those subject matter experts who basically know how to find deals, who scrape the market, who are cold calling property owners, trying to convince them to sell their properties off market. Those are great resources. You can get into wholesaling yourself, which is a great way to get into real estate. There's a lot of great resources and tools out there online for how to get into wholesaling, a lot of great software to find property owners as well. But in my case, I figured that it was going to be easier to get better deals and good deals by dealing with good wholesalers who have an eye and are savvy at finding and acquiring those contracts. So, I do like the idea of wholesaling, and I have a couple of wholesale opportunities myself. But I think that finding those people in your local area who can find good deals is a great way to find those properties that are good investments. So it's just about finding wholesalers who also aren't trying to mark up the contracts too much. I've seen people on $150,000 properties try to make a $25,000 wholesale fee. Those are the guys that are a little bit greedy, and you don't necessarily want to be doing those deals because it's all about the numbers, and you make your money in real estate when you buy. So you have to get it at the right price. And if you find the right people to work with, they'll understand that. They'll recognize that. They'll recognize that you're going to bring volume to their wholesaling business, and they'll be more fair and transparent with you in those costs that it takes to actually acquire those deals.
Now, throughout your journey so far, it sounds like you're a very involved person. You're right in there on the projects. You're right in there cutting hemp yourself and doing all that kind of stuff. And you put a lot of effort into it until a certain point where you have to go, you know what, I could carry this forward, or I have to shut it down. Even though if you have an emotional attachment to something, for instance, your very first food truck, you go, okay, you know what, I have to shut that down because I need to do something else, even if you put so much effort into it. How do you assess when that's the right time? Where you go, you know what, I've put so much into this, I can't carry it forward anymore. I know I really want to do it, but it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of factors that go into it. I think you have to look at it takes a lot of introspection to see how much you love what you're doing, how passionate you are about something. Those are very important. I think for the first question you have to ask yourself, how much do I love this? How much do I want to see this through? The next thing is you have to look at the circumstances. In our case with the hemp farm, we were planning to set up another project around April or May of 2020. It's sure enough, April of 2020, that's when we went on lockdown, right? And in order for us to start that farm again, it would have taken an enormous amount of effort and resources from being in the Midwest to have our farmers be able to get employees that could work there, keep the farm open. You just have to look at, internally at yourself. If you're willing to continue pursuing something, you also have to look at the external factors. What's going on in the world around you? What's going on in your business? Is there competition that you're dealing with? Did you time the market right? Those are all important questions to ask yourself. A lot of it then just comes down to intuition. Do you think that you can pursue this? And most of the times that I've decided to pull the plug on something, it was a fork in the road. I could either continue this or I could not. And you try to look and see, if you have to reverse engineer it a little bit. If you decide not to do something, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do in its place? Are you going to continue leveling up, doing something new, more exciting? Are you going to do another business, or are you going to fall backwards if you don't continue doing this project? Mm-hmm. So I've always been one, I never like to go backwards. So, if I was going to do something, for example, like the crepe business, I was at a point where I was going to decide, do I just drop out of college and pursue this business and try to do it on my own? Or do I continue with college and look for other opportunities where I can meet more people and find different businesses or ideas to pursue? Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, I could have dropped out of college very easily, and the business could have taken off by dedicating myself completely to it. But I had other obligations, with especially my parents helping me with college. I felt like I would have been a I would have been an asshole to drop out of college, if they, with them helping me. So I still think it was the right decision because it led me to meeting some of the most important and influential people in my life, and led me to opportunities where, it was like out of a movie. I hosted my investors, my coaches, my mentors at the United Center, right on the center court of the Chicago Bulls. I mean, that photo, I still look back on it and remember how important and significant that day was. In fact, I was at a conference with JT in South Africa, and it was one of his mega partnering conferences out there. And he specifically talked about how important that meeting was, and how it even led to more business with him, with some of his other investors and students that we brought to the event. So just getting that recognition from JT in front of thousands of people made me realize that it actually was worth it to pursue this path and not continue down that other journey with the crepe business. So, but again, you have to look at all the factors. You have to look at the financials. You have to look at the market. You have to look at the economy, and you just have to look deep down in your heart too, if this is something what you truly see yourself doing for the rest of your life. And the last thing I'll say on that is that, the only way to know what to do is by having a vision. And if you don't know what your vision is, you'll be walking around life, moving through life misguided. You won't know what to do, when to do it, right? But if you have a goal in mind, if you're always looking, just like in racing, if your car starts to slide, you don't look at the wall where you're headed, where you're inevitably going to end up. If you're sliding, you change your gaze. You don't focus on the wall, you focus on the road ahead, because your body subconsciously makes the adjustments that it needs to allow the car to go in the direction that you're looking. And I think that's such a great metaphor to life, because you end up in life where you're looking that you want to go. And without having that vision, without having that idea of where you want to go in life, you might make the wrong decisions. And while sometimes, like I said, I've questioned the decisions that I made, I knew that my vision was that I want to help people. I want to do good for people. I want to make this world a better place. And I think I'm doing that right now by giving people great new homes that they can live in here in Florida, really nice homes that are actually competitively priced, and also helping people live their dreams by driving supercars. So, I've pursued my passions, and I'm in a position right now in my life where I've never been happier. I've never been more fulfilled doing the two things in life that I love the most.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And like I said at the very beginning, you're so involved with so many different things. You've done so many incredible things, and I was excited to talk to you. And this hour has just flown by very quickly. And
I can't believe it's been an hour.
I know, it's been awesome. I usually end off the formal questions by asking, do you have one message that you want to give to the rest of the world for people to remember you by? But it seems like you already answered that question.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So I'll replace that question by asking this. You've been involved with so much charity work, and you've done a lot for the community. What is something that you want to add towards that? I know you mentioned it at the very beginning when you were talking about your journey, but you're still involved with a lot of stuff with the community, helping people out and finding jobs, or helping people find jobs more efficiently. Anything else you want to add to that part?
Well, yeah. So one of the greatest opportunities I had to help charity was actually at the Mega Partnering Africa event. I was at the event, and JT was doing an auction on several items from that event. It was a charity auction. I was going to the Salvation Army in South Africa, and Steve Wozniak was one of the keynote speakers at this event. So Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, signed his watch, which he's very famous for wearing. It's a very particular, unique watch made with these cathodes, essentially. And so he signed it. And at this event, JT was auctioning off a lot of different items. There was a bottle of Coca-Cola that JT had signed with Michael Irvin. And that bottle of Coca-Cola sold for like $7,500 at the auction. So it was, JT did such an incredible job of creating demand and creating this excitement for these products at this charity. And then they decided that they were going to launch this watch as a charity auction item. But for some reason, nobody was bidding on it. And to be honest, at this point in my life, I was investing a lot into my entrepreneurial pursuits. I didn't quite have a lot to my name, but I decided, I wanted to put in an auction, just a bid, maybe just to be recognized a little, so JT could see that I was, trying to help them get the price up on this watch. And, somebody bid, I think they started the bidding at like $8,500. Somebody bid 9,000, somebody bid 9,500. I decided, I'll raise my hand, $10,000. All of a sudden, going once, going twice, sold to the gentleman in the back. I was now the owner of this Steve Wozniak watch, and I'm in South Africa. I don't have access to any of my funds. It was actually a very scary moment for me, because I was like, what have I done? I just got this watch. I mean, I have just this amount in my savings to be able to purchase this. Yeah. So anyways, I decided, I was going to go through with it. I decided I was going to buy this watch. I put the rest of my life savings basically into buying this watch. And I've always thought, what do I want to do with this watch? How can I actually turn this around and help more people? So with this whole NFT craze that happened over the last, year or so, I've decided that I'm going to make this watch into an NFT at some point in the near future. I'm not sure when yet, just trying to think about the timing. I would like to put this watch up for sale and auction it as an NFT. Mm-hmm. But one of the stipulations for auctioning this watch as an NFT is that whatever proceeds we make, half those proceeds will also go to charities. So wow. I want to keep doing things where we can raise money for charity, whether it's through auctioning unique items, hosting events down here in Florida, and even just helping people with, we've got soup kitchens here in Florida, just even volunteering your time when you have a moment. Those are ways that I'd like to continue giving back. So wow. I think in the next few months, I'll definitely keep you posted, Fong, when I decide to list this NFT, and hopefully we can raise a lot of money for charity with this very unique watch. So
you never stop. That is absolutely amazing. So before I let you go, I know you're a busy guy because you got lots of stuff going on. 5 quick questions. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Sure.
All right. Stranded on a desert island. You get one food to eat for the rest of your life. No consequence.
Salmon.
You're on a road trip. You're in one of your supercars and you're driving for miles and miles and miles, days and days. What's that one song that you don't mind listening to for an entire trip?
That is a hard question. I would have to say, so I'm big on electronic music. I like house music, trance music. So there's a group that I like called Thievery Corporation, which is a little bit more of like a band. I'll say Lebanese Blonde. That's the first song that comes to my mind.
Awesome. Hollywood calls and says, you know what, Peter, we really want to do a documentary or biography on you. Who would you cast to play your best friend?
Play my best friend. The problem is I don't follow too much celebrities. So let's see here. Oh my God, that's a tough one. I'll say, I don't know, Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan shows up and, hey, you know what? I got casted to play your best friend, but I need to get to know you a little bit more. Shows up at your door. Let's hang out. But then he's hungry. So what's that special dish that you could cook for him?
Oh, the best dish that I would cook for him, I would make some crepes.
And my last question is, what is success like? But before that, number from 1 to 5.
Number 3.
1, 2, 3. So how is success similar to a tea bag?
Well, you got to let it steep. You got to let it steep for the right amount and get it at the right temperature to get the best tea.
Well done. So that's how success is like the tea bag. Last words, anything that you want to share, and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Well, last words, just thank you so much for hosting me. This is actually my first time joining a podcast, and it was so much fun. The best advice I could give is, there is a poet that's famous for quoting, "Our purpose in life is to build a life of purpose." And I think that resonated with me the most when I heard it in high school, because it showed me that the most important way to be fulfilled in life is by having a reason to live, right? And without having a reason to live, without having a reason to pursue greatness, to pursue success, you'll settle for mediocrity. So find your purpose, and you will build a life full of success and fulfillment and happiness. So
awesome. And the best way to find you?
Best way to find me, you could find me on Instagram at pkonsta, Pkonsta. You can also check out my real estate page, constant.innovation. Constant is spelled with a K, like my last name. And I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. You could find me there. Reach out anytime. I love talking to business owners, other people who just want to learn about what I do, and people who want to come racing. If you ever want to come drive a supercar with me, you can find me at Extreme Experience. We travel all around the country. We do about 20 plus events every year. Find a track nearby, and I'll make sure to take care of you, and you have a great time too.
Awesome. I'm going to look forward to doing that someday. For everybody else, make sure you connect with Peter. And until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. We'll all see you later.
That's it. Thank you.